What's in a question? Maybe just about everything important. A smart and sharp question should strike up the most engaging of conversations, so let's have ourselves a little discussion. Today, also always joining us in the studio, Diane, and she's going to tell us why rags to riches are becoming more and more uncommon here in Korea.
Right.
Good morning, Diane.
Good morning.
So, why is rags and riches becoming more and more rare here in Korea? Like, what is the data that's coming from the government? And is it because there's less opportunities? Or is it because Koreans' economic standings have improved, so there are less people who are at the bottom levels of poverty? I mean, there could be a various amount of reasons for this. I'm curious, very curious.
Right, so we'll just go over that. And one of our listeners chimed in through the YouTube site, Aaron, and he said maybe it's because the 1% has become the better at gatekeeping of their wealth or their social ladder. And I think the answer to that question is yes. I think all of the data kind of heads towards the fact that the 1% has become better at gatekeeping. So today's question is, why can't we hear more of the rags to riches stories? And by dictionary definition, rags to riches phrase is used to describe a person's rise from a state of extreme poverty to one of great wealth. So this also has a saying in Korean as well. It goes, 개천에서 용난다. But according to a recent parliamentary inspection of government and state agencies, especially education ministry, South Korea is becoming a society where rags cannot transform to riches with ever-growing wealth polarization.
Okay, so give us more backgrounds on this.
Right. So Lee Taek-gyu of the ruling People Power Party pointed out that private education expenses lie at the core of the economic inequality structure in South Korea. According to his data, the total amount of private education expenses in Korea increased from around 18 trillion won, which is about $13 billion in 2016, to over 23 trillion won last year, which is about $16 billion. So 18 trillion won to 23 trillion won. The problem is that the difference in private education expenses by income group has widened dramatically. The average private education expenditures for low-income households with a monthly income of less than 3 million won decreased from 150,000 won to 148,000 won, while those for high-income households with 7 million won or more than doubled from 220,000 won to 540,000 won. So the more you earn, the more you invest on your kids with private education and extracurricular activities. So maybe therefore they get better chances.
And the next set of data points is not only pertaining to South Korea, but I think in any country where there's a correlation between the status of the parents and children's education level.
Right. I mean, that's the reason why we always talk about 금수저, or the gold spoon or silver spoon. According to data from the Ministry of Education, just looking at the freshmen at Seoul National University Law School, 65% of them are children of high-income families. According to the status of enrolling students by income at 25 university law schools in the country for the last 3 years, among law school students who applied for the national scholarship, high-income earners with an annual income of 120 million won or more maintained 40% or more for 3 consecutive years. In particular, the ratio of high-income students of Seoul National University, Korean University, and Yonsei University, which are the top 3 universities in South Korea, exceeded 50% for 3 years.
And focusing on the top university here in Korea, Seouldae.
Right.
When you look at the statistics for the freshman class, a big percentage of the freshman class also is from a very affluent part of the city.
Right. So they were from Gangnam and Seocho area, which are renowned for its high education, private education, and big prosperity. According to the acceptance status of admitted students received by the university by regions and provinces, the proportion of students from the metropolitan area among freshmen rose from below 26% in 2019 to over 65% in 2022. Considering that about half of all high school school students from the metropolitan area is about 49%. Seoul National University's admission rate for students from the metropolitan area is higher than any other areas. In particular, the proportion of freshmen from Gangnam and Seocho rose to double digits to 10.4% this year after fluctuating around 9% for 4 years from 2018.
And it seems like a lot of the youth that are coming up, they are very lucky to have parents who are giving them a significant advantage by giving them inheritance.
Yes, so it's increasing. So according to the reporting status of real estate inheritance by age group by the National Tech Service, the number of inheritance increased from 33,000 in 2017 to 85,000 in 2021, which is about a threefold increase. And the amount of inheritance also jumped 4.5 times from about 5 trillion won to over 24 trillion won. So both the number and the amount are all-time highs. In particular, the size of the houses and buildings inherited by people in their 20s and 30s was large. The number of inheritance increased 3.5 times, and the amount of inheritance increased 6.3 times from less than 10,000 cases in 2017 to more than 35 cases in 2021. And the number and the amount of inheritance for teens also surged, increasing 3.5 times and 5.9 times respectively. So everyone, well, not everyone, there's a growing number of the younger generations, 20s and 30s, and also teens who are getting inherited a big amount.
And you could even go younger. Minors, according to the statistics released by the government, are increasing their earning power, even though they're not really economically active.
Right. So the number of minors who earn 20 million won or more in financial income in a year more than quadrupled from the less than 900 in 2016 to about 4,000 in 2020. The amount increased more than tenfold from 90.6 billion to 711 billion. And 99.5% of minors' financial income is dividend income, and most financial assets are passed down through stocks.
Okay, so let's broaden our perspective here a little bit. The OECD released a report on South Korea that kind of shows where all of this inequality, I guess, is stemming from.
So this all can be answered by reading the OECD's latest report on South Korea, which just got last month. And according to this report, it includes more serious important warnings about Korea's inequalities that affect a range of issues, including a wide productivity gap, a low youth employment, and the weak social safety net.
And talk to us a little bit about productivity gap. What is that, and what kind of gap are we talking about here?
So the report said the productivity gap between small and large, highly productive companies is reflected in labor market dualities of income, job quality, and social protection. And this is because the government heavily focused on those large corporations because South Korea is export-driven economy, rather than also focusing on those small and medium-sized companies. And therefore, that's the reason why the youngsters, the younger generation who seek for their jobs only go for the big companies because they don't earn much as if they go to small and medium-sized companies. That's the problem right now. And the OECD said, referring to the stark reality in regular workers enjoy high wages and solid insurance coverage, while non-regular workers in small companies suffer poor working conditions. And Korea's level of high human capital is fundamentally a strength, but important aspects of the current status quo are unproductive, according to the report. Entering a top university increases the chance to land a secure and attractive career in a large firm or the public sector rather than a low productivity SMEs. Competition is therefore fierce to score highly on the university entrance exam. That's why this term called Korean golden ticket syndrome has come out, and it has several negative effects to South Korea, including low youth employment, a lot of time and money spent on private tutoring, skill and qualification mismatches, high pressures on students, and low life satisfaction. So because of this golden ticket syndrome, people are focusing on private education, but then because of the wealth disparities, those people who are in the low income bracket cannot match those people who are in high income families.
So what can we do as a country and as a society to kind of even out the playing field here a little bit?
So the solution the OECD gave is to reduce the barriers to a hierarchical movement or moving up the social ladder. The OECD called for easing protections for regular workers and strengthening social insurance coverage for non-regular workers. In addition, the report said that youth employment can be eased only by reducing the impact of various tests, such as the College Scholastic Ability Test. The body said that by creating a lot of other successful paths, like including entrepreneurship, education, the preference for full-time jobs, and prestigious universities can decrease, therefore, so that the obsession with the so-called golden tickets can also decrease.
Right. I could definitely see the basis for the story here. But rags to riches, I think before Korea, it was all about, hey, let's study hard, get good SAT score, go into one of the top colleges, and then, become a lawyer, doctor, or
large
corporate conglomerate worker, and then kind of build your wealth through that.
Yeah.
But maybe the perspective has to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
And like you said, more entrepreneurship, more startups, because those positions are the old way of doing things. A lot of it is just filled up. So if you want to break into wealth, you got to figure out different channels.
Yeah, you got to find a new way.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Diane.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.